Welcome to the Just Ingredients podcast. I'm Cara Lynn, and here we talk all things nourishing to the mind, body, and soul. This is a place where you can find just good ingredients to life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today's episode is going to be really fun for me because I am joined by someone who has been both a friend and a mentor as I've started my own business. Vanessa Quigley is a mother of 7 and the co-founder of Chatbooks. Once an avid scrapbooker, Vanessa knew there needed to be a better solution for the photos stuck on her phone. Now, millions of parents have printed their family memories with the Chatbooks app. She also is the host of the Mom Force podcast and author of Real Moms, Real Hacks. So welcome to the show, Vanessa.
Oh, thank you. This is so fun.
This is fun. I was one time on your podcast, like maybe a year and a half ago, but this is fun to have you on mine.
I know, so fun. That was actually like 4 years ago.
Oh, was it really?
I
Oh
know.
my gosh.
Crazy.
Time
means
flies.
nothing. I know.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Well, I'm excited to talk to you. We're going to talk about balancing work and the family and why you started Chatbooks, but also how pictures can play a role, like even in our mental health, our relationships, our emotions, things like that. So I'm excited to delve into this, but why don't we just start with telling the listeners a little bit about yourself, your background, but maybe just what inspired you or why you even started Chatbooks?
Yeah. Well, I grew up the oldest of 12 kids in Orlando, Florida. And so family has always been a central part of my life. And I came to Utah to go to school. I studied vocal performance and pedagogy at BYU. I was studying to be an opera singer. And that's where I met my husband, Nate. And we started our family very soon after. In fact, I graduated with a 1-year-old, which
Wow.
wasn't the original plan, but life happens. And we now have 7 kids, ranging from 29. My oldest is 29. My youngest is 16. And I'm also a grandmother to 2, which is such a joy. And I never thought I would be an entrepreneur, right? I started off as a professional singer, singing part-time while my kids were all young. But about 10 years ago, I had an insight with my youngest son. He was getting ready to go to kindergarten. And I found him looking at a photo book that his preschool teacher had made for him for a preschool graduation. And it was adorable because here he is pondering and reflecting and feeling emotional. And yeah, it was cute. But also in that same moment, I was flooded with so much mom guilt because as a younger mom, I was really into scrapbooking, like you said. And that was an important job for me to do, to document our family story. It was also a fun creative outlet. And so my first couple kids have big, beautiful scrapbooks, very comprehensive, right? And then here's Declan, baby number 7, getting ready to go to kindergarten. And all he has is this little teeny dollar store album with a few snapshots of preschool field trips.
I can relate.
And so I was like, I need to do better. And I had this thought that I had been using Instagram kind of as a family journal, sharing highlights of what our family had been doing with a photo and a caption. If I could just print that, he would have more to hold on to. And so I shared that idea with my husband, who had been for almost 10 years up to that point, trying to build another solution to family memories that was built in the cloud and had nothing to do with printing anything. And, it wasn't really going anywhere. So I was like, you know what? There are so many busy moms like me who are not printing photos. Can you just find a way to print my Instagram? And that was the magic that we needed. The business built out of that simple idea. However, over time, Instagram changed, right? The way I use Instagram, the way everyone uses Instagram changes. More of a marketplace than it is like a family journal. And, it's a good thing that we changed the way to make books because, like, just earlier this year, only 1% of the photos that we print were coming from Instagram. And just a few weeks ago, Instagram announced that they're cutting off all access to photos to third-party apps. The API is shut down. If we had a business that was totally dependent upon Instagram at that point, we'd be dead. But most of the photos that our customers print, the millions and millions of photos we print, come from the camera roll. And so it ended up being a good thing because it's allowed us to really focus on building our family memory system. We have a new Add Memories flow, which makes it even easier to capture the moments when they happen. And it's been a blessing. And like you, my business partner is my husband. And I never thought that we could ever be business partners because we're both very type A, the bosses of our own domains. But working together has been such a blessing for us for our business, for our family, and for our marriage. So I'm super, super grateful to be able to be working on something that we're so passionate about.
Oh, I love that. I can relate with those, scrapbooks because my poor younger kids, especially my last, like you, has nothing. I need to use Chatbooks and get my life in order with all of that, but it's just, one more thing, and
Put one of your kids in charge of making the books. It's literally so easy, and our kids are so adept with all things digital.
that actually is a great idea.
That's a
A
mom
little
hack
side
for you.
job for them. There you
Yeah.
go. So I'm curious, so this was 10 years ago, so you still had kids at home then, and so were they involved in any of the business?
Oh, yeah. I mean, along with that initial insight with my son that kind of sparked the idea that launched Chatbooks, they're everything. They're like the heart of it all. And, they have been involved from the very beginning as, that moment of inspiration to ideation as we were developing the app. They did a lot of testing. They've worked as models and, in basically every department of the business. And in fact, all of our kids, except for our youngest, has been on payroll at one point or another.
Oh,
My
I
daughter,
love it.
Lakin, she's a musician. She wrote what we call the Chatty Anthem. It was the theme song of some of our holiday campaign videos. She also wrote the theme song to the Mom Force podcast. So it's been so fun to have them involved. But another way that they've been involved is like picking up the slack because, yeah, as a working mom, there's a lot of things that I don't do at home anymore. I can't. You just
Yeah.
have to constantly be shuffling priorities. And so by pitching in more around the house and making meals and helping chauffeur their siblings around. It feels like we're all in on the business, and it's been a blessing for our family.
Yeah, that I can relate with that as well because that's where my kids help. Some of them work at Just Ingredients, but then others are really helping me at home. Like you said, they're shuttling people around and doing carpools and cooking dinner and just helping me out. Especially, I mean, even last night we had to call one of our kids home from college and be like, Dad and I both have to be at this event tonight. Can you please get one to tumbling, one to golf, then pick up the golf one and then, and come home. Can you make them dinner? So I get that
Yeah,
because a lot of young moms will say to me, I don't know how you do this. I can't juggle the kids and running a business. And
yeah,
one thing I always say to them, there's always a time and a season in life because I don't know if I could have done it with a bunch of toddlers and
right.
newborns and little kids. And so, what advice do you give to moms though that are trying to do both?
Yeah, totally acknowledge that there are seasons. I also don't think I could have done it when they were younger. It was a real blessing that my youngest was going to school, and so I could go work while he was in school. And I really tried to come home. I didn't work 9 to 5 while he was in school because I wanted to be there when he got home. But yeah, recognizing seasons, also having a partner, whether it's a business partner or a mentor or someone else who gets you and gets the space that you're working in, someone to tag team with and to bounce ideas off and just cheer you on when you hit the tough spots because the rough spots come, right?
Yes, they do.
And then also just letting go of perfection. Like there were lots of things that I like to do as a mom that I couldn't do when I was also building the business. And so letting that go, again, I would call it just this is the season of Chatbooks and calling in support. Friends, hire if you can. And what I love about how you've involved your kids and how we've been able to involve our kids is they've like bought in at ownership and, they're sacrificing, they're making contribution that no one else can, and so that gives them ownership. So when I am able have to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't volunteer at that school thing, I can't be the art mom anymore," they're like, "It's okay, because 'cause we're building something bigger," and it's like that unity that really helps us ride out the hard stuff.
You have to change. What you did maybe as that stay-at-home mom won't exactly work with being
Right.
a business mom as well, and I always tell people it's also about balance, and I tell people it's like a saw. For a saw to work on a log, it has to go back and forth, right? And so I'm like, one day my kids get a lot of attention, and the next day it's back to work, and my work gets my attention, and the next day it might be the kids, like, there's a time for both.
Yep, and it's
So
it's it's kinda like a seesaw too, right? And seesaws aren't meant to just stay steady. They're supposed to go up and down, like, that's what makes it fun. So, in that, like, constant trade-off, it's like it's a given. You're never gonna have everything in perfect balance. There's gonna be a back and forth, and this is where I really love having my business partner also be my life partner because 'cause we're as equally invested in our family as we are in the business. So when things get out of balance, we can, allow each other to tackle the things that are most needful in the moment. So,
Yeah. I like the analogy of the seesaw. So I'm curious, what what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned as a business owner?
well, the first one that has kind of been the foundation for me is because I am not a natural business person. And I don't think you were either,
Nope,
Carolyn.
nope.
And I had in my mind what it took to be building a business, like maybe, an MBA or at least have taken an accounting class. But my husband was really good at pointing out to me there is no one right way to be an entrepreneur. It's actually my
Mm.
life experiences that n- allow me to be here and to do this amazing thing. So that was the first thing, is to kind of try to dispel any notion that I need to know anything specific or be a certain way. But the power of really listening to our customers was kind of a painful story. Like I mentioned, my husband had been building another family memory system for about 10 years. And I would gather all of my friends, other moms, busy moms, to come look at what he was building out. And everyone was very polite by saying, "Yes, this is amazing. Oh, I should totally do this." But inevitably, as somewhere in the conversation, they'd be like, "Now, after all of this, can I print it in a book?" And he was convinced print is dead. Nope, we are disrupting this whole thing. Everything's going to be safe and sound in the cloud. Well, a lot of money later and time later, I really wish that we had listened to that, because, in fact, what people wanted was a printed, tangible way to hold on to their memories. So if we had listened a little bit better, we would probably, oh, I know we'd be in a better financial position. But it's tricky because you want to listen, but you also want to be true to your unique vision. And that's where you have to be really clear on what your mission and your vision and your objectives are, so that you can have that as a North Star while really listening to your customers, so you can give them the best experience and grow in the best way.
Well, I love that you had a passion and saw a need out there and went for it and just was like, I'm going to solve this need. And I think that makes the greatest business owners is when they have a passion for it and then they want to solve it. And so, yeah, my advice to people listening too is I've never taken a business class in my life. And in
Me
fact,
neither.
I had to teach at BYU, Brigham Young University, the other day in a marketing class. And I started off the class by saying, well, I'm teaching a marketing class, but I've never actually attended a marketing class. And people were shocked. They were like, what? You've done this whole business without
I know.
ever having a
Well, look,
marketing class?
you can hire the experts, but I propose that you actually had a lot of marketing expert experience as a mom. I mean, think about it, like convincing our kids to potty train, to do their chores, to even get out of bed. That is like a marketing gig,
That
right?
is
It's all
true.
about storytelling and trying to convert the customer. So, as moms, we have so much valid experience that is a huge asset in entrepreneurship.
That is true. So if you are a mom thinking you need business experience to be a business owner, you do not. So, well, okay. So, like I said, you had a passion for this though, because you saw it more than just pictures. You saw that your son was just loving it and pondering over memories and things like that. And so,
Yeah.
do you find that there's like a connection between photos and relationships with people?
Oh, totally. That is the mission of Chatbooks, is to connect and strengthen families, because I mean, it goes all the way back to when I was a little girl. My mom, like I said, I'm the oldest of 12, and she led a pretty fabulous life. Her dad was in the army, she lived all over the world. My mom's very artistic, and she created the most beautiful scrapbooks. And so as a young girl, I would pore over these books, just like in awe of the life she led. Also, it helped me see, like, there's a big world out there, right? I lived my entire life in Orlando, Florida, but I dreamed of adventure and living abroad, and I felt confident that I could do those things because my mom did those things. So I felt power in connecting to my mom and also to my future self by looking at these photos. And so that's why when I became a mom, I was adamant. We're getting a good camera. I'm going to document it all. I'm going to make scrapbooks. This is going to help my kids, ground them and give them a, self-esteem and all of the good things. So I had felt that as a young girl. I felt that in my own family. And so when we started building the business, I'm like, the whole world needs to know about this if they don't already. And we decided to commission a research study in partnership with HP. They are our print partner. Um, and we found some pretty incredible things that prove the impact of printed photos on families and strengthening families. 88% of families say that when they look at photos, they feel closer to one
Hmm.
another. And they also report that when they look at photos, there's more storytelling. And that storytelling is actually where the magic happens. Because as we look at a photo, for example, a photo of the family going to the beach, you could just be like, "Oh, yeah, we went to the beach. We went to the zoo. We did this." Okay? But what do we actually tend to do, especially when we're with young kids? "Oh, do you remember that day we went to the beach? Do you remember how cold the water was? Do you remember that castle that we built that was almost as tall as you are?" We add details. We ask open-ended questions. This is called elaborative reminiscing. The psychologist at the University of Utah that we worked with on the study, she's the one that pointed out that this practice of elaborative reminiscing is tied to a whole host of positive outcomes in lots of research out there that's linked to lower instances of anxiety, greater self esteem, better problem solving, feeling closer connections, and it helps parents feel like they're doing a better job. So,
That's
all
amazing.
of that for some printed photos, yes, ma'am, sign me up.
Wow. So it's related to our health, basically.
Yes. It's a grounding practice. It's a gratitude practice. I was listening to an episode of your podcast recently with a woman talking about a
Oh,
heart-mind
yeah.
connection,
Yep.
right? And I was just like, "Yes, this is it. This is all it." I didn't know any of that science, but I knew it from my experience. I knew it from watching my kids experience. Looking at photos, it's mindfulness. It helps you remember the good when you face the bad. Because 'cause let's face it, we are all gonna face tough times, right? In every family, no matter what they are, and it's just helpful to have a way to slow down, pause, remember the good, see the overarching story, narrative of your family, and be like, "Okay, we're gonna get through this because we always do." Yeah, it's a pretty powerful practice.
As you're saying this, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize this." So this week, my oldest son needed 30 pictures for a school project that he's doing, and he needed, like, from his childhood, and it could be
Mhm.
with siblings, family, whatever. So he puts this in the group our family group chat, and this entire week, people have been sending in photos, but then they'll send in one, and then someone will be like, "Oh my gosh, but do you remember that dad got after us and did this and this? Or do you
Yeah.
remember that this happened?" And then people will laugh and make jokes about it. And then they just sent one this morning and they're like, "Mom, how dare you make us wear this outfit? I can't believe we wore this outfit." But then the next sentence like, "Yeah, but do you remember we were like the star of the party because of our outfits?" And it's
Mhm.
just been so fun all week long. These jokes coming in and reminiscing coming in and seeing these pictures. And so, yeah, I just thought, "Oh yeah, this is fun. We're doing this." But I didn't realize that it's really
No,
a bonding
it's a
experience for us.
powerful wellness practice. Yeah, it is, and it's so fun. It's
It
so
is fun.
fun.
Okay, well, I've also, though, heard you talk about that, like, capturing and revisiting photos of happy moments can impact our mental health. So, I'm curious about that as well.
Endorphins, right? Serotonin and oxytocin, those are some of the endorphins that are released in our brains when we look at photos and when we have these conversations and we start to feel that bonding. And we actually did another research study in conjunction with the bump. Are you familiar with the bump?
Yeah, yep,
Okay. When we were having very babies, Carolyn, we had what to expect when you're expecting, right? And whatever our
yep,
mothers could remember to
yep,
tell us, there are so many resources for new moms these days. And
so
the bump
many.
is a great online resource where you can find all kinds of information. But anyway, we wanted to see the connection of printed photos on postpartum health because 85% of women experience some type of mood disturbance during postpartum, right? It's a very emotionally complex time. And we saw that printed photos can provide a unique source of emotional support. There's something about being surrounded by images of your baby, moments of connection with your partner that help you feel like I can do this job, and also, like, sometimes helps you re-identify with your pre-motherhood identity because that's a whole 'nother thing. You lose your sense of self. Anyway, it creates a sense of grounding and stability, and my oldest daughter just had a baby earlier this year, And I was able to go up for a couple weeks and stay with her. She had a C-section, so the recovery was, a little longer than I had ever experienced. But I noticed that after hours and hours of caring for this baby, rocking her, nursing her, soothing her, as soon as she would finally put her down, she would immediately pull out her phone and look at pictures of that very same baby.
Oh,
I'm like, "Don't
interesting.
you wanna sleep? Like, close
Yeah.
your eyes." But there was something powerful happening when she was looking at these photos, this dopamine rush that, I don't know, diminished the pain of her C-section scar, that helped her push through the sleepless nights and feel like she had purpose and that she had power. It was pretty amazing to see, and in the research, we saw, 7 out of 10 parents reported that when they look at photos of their children, it positively impacts their mental health, and that's powerful stuff. Photos aren't just for preserving memories or, some nostalgic pastime. They offer emotional connection, comfort, and even a little extra resilience in challenging times.
That's really interesting, but as you say it, I'm like, well, every new mom loves posting, like, pictures about their little baby, and it's because they bring you joy. They bring a lot of tiredness, that's for sure, but
Yeah.
they bring you joy, and you're like, "Oh, look how cute my child is. I wanna share this with everybody," and so I could see how that helps your, mental health and feeling happy.
We also, in the survey, 78% of parents reported that they are worried about privacy and the risk of sharing their children's photos online. And also, my daughter, I was so excited to post pictures of this new little grandbaby because I'm finally a grandma. And she would not let me. She's like, "No, she's too perfect to put out in the world. Like, I don't want you sharing." And so I had to, exercise a lot of restraint and wait until I got permission to finally share. But I get it. Like, that wasn't a thing that we had to think about as young moms, but the internet's a scary place. There's a lot of good out there, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not a good idea to put all of your photos on social media. And again, this is another reason why I'm so grateful that our business has pivoted from post to social media, that's how your photos get in your chat books. Now you can keep all of those photos, precious photos, safe and sound in your camera roll and just put them in your books straight from there. So I thought that was an interesting thing that came out of that study.
Yeah, that really is interesting. Okay, but I've also heard you say that reflecting on or looking at photos, reflecting on memories can reduce stress and anxiety. So, same type of thing about the endorphins?
Yeah. I mean, do you have a favorite family photo that just brings you joy? We have, obviously we have all of our chat books. We also have a Google Home in our kitchen that constantly just shuffles through all the favorites in our Google Photos. And I can be having the worst day ever, and I walk into the kitchen, and there's a picture of my kids when we were in the sweet spot, when they were all young enough to be living under my roof and doing what I say. And it's like, oh, that was that was heaven, right? It just for you photo can freeze a moment of joy and connection and give us something tangible to revisit. And in our HP study, it showed that the impact of printed photos boosts happiness. It reduces stress. It even improves self-esteem. So it's like a mindfulness practice. We know that mindfulness is key to your mental health. And when you think about the things that makes us anxious, worrying about whatever happened in the past or worrying about the future, when we look at memories, it puts us in the moment, right? It can make us really grateful for the past, but it helps us in the moment feel all of that good stuff, feel like we conquered that. We have this amazing family, which is gonna give us the strength and you know, the rooting that we need to challenge whatever or tackle anything that comes forward. I'm just thinking about back in COVID. Remember that? It was a very crazy time, and so many of us felt isolated. I know I felt totally cooped up. I love to travel with my family, and so we were grounded like most people. And, it was really fun to be all in the house doing puzzles, and we did a lot of baking. But I longed for that sense of adventure, and, I ended up spending a lot of time in my photos and did a lot of photo organizing, but I picked out some of my favorite travel photos, and I printed them in Chatbooks wall tiles. There's just super easy canvas peel and stick wall tiles, and I covered the whole back wall of my basement with these wall tiles, and it became, like, my happiest place. It still is, because you walk down there, and then you just see this mosaic of beautiful moments frozen in time, and it is a very healing space, and my kids spend a lot of time in the basement, and I am sure that it is healing them every time they go down there too, so
Oh, that's a great idea. But yeah, I love how you say a photo can freeze like a moment in time and help
Mhm.
you bring down that anxiety or stress or whatever you're going through.
Photos also can help strengthen cognitive health, like,
Well, I
especially
was
as
going
we
to ask
age.
you about that because I have heard you talk about that. So tell me.
Yeah, it's like, exercise for the brain, right? It stimulates memory recall. It helps keep cognitive pathways active and strong, and it sparks storytelling. This goes back to that elaborative reminiscing that reinforces connections in the brain that support memory, and there are lots of studies that show that reflecting on the past strengthens neural connections and can even slow cognitive decline. So,
Yeah, I believe that. My mom is dealing with dementia, but there's all these brain exercises that they give people that are in the early stages of this. And
yeah.
one of them is to try to recall memories or things that happened in the past. And so, yeah, you show her a picture and we're like, tell us what happened. What happened back
Yeah.
then, to see if they can use that part of their brain and stimulate that part of the brain or exercise that part of the brain to help them.
Yeah, my mom, she, actually has Alzheimer's, and it's really difficult to see her cognitive ability decline, but show her a photo, ask her about a memory, and she comes to life. She can remember in such clear detail. She's a natural storyteller, but it's so fun to see that connection in real life. We have customers who have shared stories of family members that are, going through dementia, or one family in particular that was in a home, and she just felt like no one ever came to visit her because she couldn't remember all the visits that she was having, but their family had a practice of every time they would go to visit grandma, they would take a picture with her and send it to the chapbook. So she was growing this collection of books that was proof and evidence that she had visitors, because there they are sitting in her room, snuggled up on her bed together. So it kept reinforcing that connection even when it wasn't really there.
Yeah, I love that. Let's take a quick break to hear from our show sponsor. Looking for a mattress made with ingredients you recognize? Naturepedic has it. When Naturepedic's founder, an environmental engineer, couldn't find a suitable mattress for his first grandchild, he made one. Today, Naturepedic makes healthier mattresses and bedding for the whole family. Their safer, healthier sleep essentials use materials like cotton, wool, and latex instead of fiberglass and polyurethane foam. Plus, Naturepedic's EWG verified, GOTS certified organic products meet rigorous criteria for transparency and safety. I just gave my niece one of their breathable crib mattresses, and it meets all the important safety standards. Plus, it stays clean and hygienic without any vinyl thanks to its waterproof surface made from food grade non GMO sugarcane. Just Ingredients podcast listeners get 15% off at naturepedic.com with code JustIngredients15. Don't settle for hidden chemicals where you sleep. Use code JustIngredients15 at naturepedic.com to save on safer, healthier sleep for the whole family. Now back to the show. Okay, well, photos, we all know, can serve as a coping mechanism during difficult times. I feel like, well, I say as we all know, but I was going to say for like grieving, if you lose
Yeah.
someone. We lost our 15-year-old niece, and those photos are just precious.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing, you know what I mean? There's nothing in the world that you could bring her, give her mom and dad that means more than these photos. They mean
Right.
everything to her.
Yeah. They can also be triggering. Like, it's tricky. I know when we've had gone through some hard times, sometimes those photos, you need space. That's all I'm saying. Sometimes you need space. But I think we're really good as parents, especially, of documenting the good, happy things, the shiny things. We've been trained kind of to get the Instagram worthy shot. And we don't really take pictures of the hard stuff, but I think that reflecting and reminiscing on the harder moments is really important, whether you have a photo of it or not. Um, it's the stories that we tell about those hard things, right, that shapes us in profound ways, and can make all the difference. For example, our family had the opportunity to live in France for a little while. My husband was working as a consultant. I had 2 little kids. I did not speak French, but Paris? Okay, I'll go. And my husband speaks French. We'll be fine. He'll help take care of us. As soon as we land, his firm transferred him to a study that put him out of Paris 5 days a week.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm a new mom, not speaking French in a city that I don't understand. And it was, I mean, from the outward appearance, it felt like a dream, but it was so hard for me. Um, but, partly my personality where I will just always try to make the best of whatever I'm given. I just dug in. I found some friends. I started trying to learn the language. It ended up being a beautiful experience for us, even though it was really hard. And that's something that we talk about in our family, that we can do hard things, that we love a sense of adventure. We like tackling. Actually, we get excited about challenges. And with that framework of this experience for our family, along with many others, that's just become part of our family narrative, right? It's given us perspective. It can give us hope when we need to move forward through some tough times. And that's pretty powerful. I feel like shying away from the hard stuff, I think our earlier generation, they would just put it under the rug, right? The hard things, it's past. We're not going to speak of it. But that doesn't help your family grow. It doesn't help build resilience. Like, that's where we get the resilience is from the tension. And so, as you're documenting your family story, yeah, get all the happy stuff, but maybe try to document or at least talk about some of the hard things that you've been through as a family because there's a lot of benefit that comes from that.
Oh, I do love that. We were looking at Christmas pictures when the boys were young. They were so probably like 20 years ago. And we were in a home in Arizona and we're looking at these pictures and they're laughing about things and laughing about their moon jumping shoes that they got. And
Mhm.
then I said to them, oh my gosh, this brings back so many memories of just such a hard life, with such a difficult life. Like, this is when I was dealing with my depression, and this is when
Yes.
we were dealing with financial
Oh,
issues, and when I had all these toddlers and just such a hard time. And I'm like, but look at where we are now. Like, we've all come so far. We've
I
all
know.
gone through hard things and look where we're at now. And so I love that it was a fun photo, but we turned it into a teaching moment, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. One of our favorite family traditions is to put old home movies on Sunday afternoons. My kids love seeing themselves when they were younger, but I I kind of in awe of myself, honestly, because I think a lot of moms, we kind of just kind of things get blurred out, right? That's why we keep having babies over and over again because we
Mhm.
forget what it's all like. But we'll have these family videos on, and it's fun to see the cute kids and the dog when she was a puppy or whatever. But I'm in awe of myself watching me juggle all of these kids, all of the noise, all of the multitasking. But it's so fun to hear my kids say, "Mom, you're amazing. How did you do this?" Now that they're getting older, they can appreciate it a little bit. So yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
it's pretty fun.
Well, and as women, I feel like we're always like, we're not enough. We're not good enough. We haven't
Oh,
done enough. And I'm like, look back at those photos and see how much you've accomplished. Give yourself some grace, some credit.
yeah. That's actually something that came out of our study with HP. When we look at photos, parents feel like they're doing a better job. It's like there's proof right there. Whatever
Interesting.
hard stage you're gonna go through, you had a triumph along the way. You love each other. You're in this for the long haul.
Okay, well, I'm curious though, because I'm sitting here though with a lot of guilt.
No,
So,
no, 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 no.
what advice do you give to someone who feels too busy to organize all of these photos that are on their phones?
Okay,
I know you gave
uh,
the advice of having my older kids hire them as a job, to do it, but let's say they don't have someone like that.
right. Well, I have 2 mantras. Something is better than nothing, and done is better than perfect. Okay, memory keeping doesn't have to be an all or nothing effort. Start small and start today. Something really easy. Take a quick photo of something today that you're grateful for. Something that makes you smile, whether it's, something your kid's doing, your morning smoothie, or even a sunset. Then, at the end of the week, or as needed, open up your camera roll and scroll back and reflect on that and see what happens. You'll start to feel the dopamine and the oxytocin at work. And just that little practice can make a difference. And then you can take the next step and put them in your chat books. Okay. And that's the way you grow your chat books collection or whatever, however you're going to, you know, preserve these photos. Um, Another tip while you got your camera roll open, go ahead and delete the junk, right? The screenshots, the blurry photos, the unnecessary photos. I think so much of the overwhelm that we feel around photos is that since having digital cameras, we don't just have the photos that we meant to take. We have all kinds of other stuff and it starts to weigh us down, right? All of that clutter, it can really take a toll on your emotional, mental well being. So clean out the camera roll, start today, just document one thing. It doesn't have to be everything, something's better than nothing.
So when you say document one thing, like document it on Instagram, document it in
No, no,
Chatbooks,
no, no,
document
no,
it
no, no.
where?
Your phone. You take a picture of it. I mean, I
Oh,
I
just the
probably
phone, like not even write anything about it.
no, just taking the picture. That is the first step. Okay, in
Okay.
a perfect world, you've got your photos curated, you have a heartfelt journal entry with it. And you know what? Some people do that because there are all kinds of different personalities out there. I think you're a lot like me. I don't do that. That's why the print your Instagram was so magical because who posts a photo without a caption? That way you had the photo, you had the little journaling part, but that era is over. We have developed at Chatbooks what we call the add memories flow. It kind of mimics the Instagram flow where you just open up the app, you tap add memories, it prompts you to pick a photo or up to 10 from your camera roll. And in that moment, you can write a caption. Sometimes when I make my Chatbooks, my month books, I will at the end of the month add 30 to 60 photos, whatever. Now that we have grandkids, it tends to be more photos because so many of our books are filled with pictures of grandkids. But when I do it that way, all the memories aren't as fresh in my mind, and so I don't always type up heartfelt captions. I've just started printing my books without the captions, but when my book comes, I take a little ultrafine tip Sharpie and I handwrite little thoughts or little like, "Oh, and this photo before this photo, this is what was happening," or "This was the backstory of this." And I like that because it kind of fleshes out the story a little bit more, and also it includes my handwriting. That's something I really miss from my scrapbooking days all through all the volumes of my scrapbooks as my style and design choices changed.
Mm.
My handwriting is that thread that goes through all of them. It was the same for my mom's scrapbook. So now I like having that little personal bit to my chapbooks as well. But yeah, when I say document, take a picture. If you see something that makes you smile, take a picture. I know there are people out there that say, put your phones away and just live in the moment. Okay. I live in the moment by taking a picture. I'm not gonna live, all day long behind my camera, but I want to remember this, and I've learned to listen to that little cue in my brain. If something's happening, I'm like, "Oh, I love that." My brain says, "Take a picture." Sometimes I'm embarrassed to take a picture because honestly, my kids are at an age where my camera comes out and they're like, "Oh, no, no, no. No, no, no." I always have to preface, "This is only for the chat books." They got a little skittish thinking I was gonna post them on social media. Um, I don't really share much of my kids on social media anymore, but anyway, listen to your intuition. If it sparks joy, take a picture. You will have that to either keep in your camera roll or even look at it at the end of the week and then delete it. Like, not every photo we take needs to live into perpetuity, but it is important to get them in books so they're off your phones, off of the whole digital, all the digital noise and into the hands of your family so you can have those important chats. Get it? Chat books and
Love it.
conversations.
Well, I just had an idea as you were talking because so when a new year comes, I always choose just one project to do rather than a goal. So
Okay.
weird things like learn how to make homemade yogurt, learn how to buy grass-fed beef locally somewhere, learn, just things like that to help my wellness, my health and wellness. Well, one year I did to write 5 things that I'm grateful for every day in a journal just at night, and it would literally
Mm,
take me, like, 1 minute because I would just, like, s so and so soccer game, so and so
yeah.
volunteering at their school today, like, so fast. Well, I'm thinking, "Okay, my photos are not in order. I am not a good booker anymore. I claim I don't have time," and I'm sitting here listening to you going, "Alright, it's better to start now than never," like you said, like, what'd you say? Done is better than perfect. So, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Something's
start
better
now.
than nothing.
And I'm like, if you have an app that I can just throw my picture in each night, I'm like, every night instead of 5 things, I'm going to throw 1 picture in that app and write something really quick about that picture, and it will take me less than 2 minutes.
Yes.
And if I focus it on whatever I'm grateful for the day, I will have all fun pictures of my kids doing things and what we've been doing, and I will have 365 memories that will be able to be printed out in a book.
Do it. Do it. I've referenced my month books. That's our ongoing photo book subscription. I love that. It's a volume every single month. You can have it on a different cadence. You can also do, 2 books a year, 4 books a year, 6 books a year. But you can also do a classic book as a yearbook. Just start a classic book every day, hit that add memories, put your memory, your things you're grateful for, the photo, and like you said, at the end of the year, you've got a beautiful book capturing it all.
Yeah, I always think I don't have time for this, but I do have 2 minutes at night that I can just throw that in an app and then
Yeah.
have it printed. Oh my gosh, an aha moment for me. But then at the same time, we talked about how photos help you with your mental health and cognitive learning and stress and anxiety. But at the same time, then photos can really help you reflect on gratitude. And gratitude is a huge part of your health. Crazy
Mhm.
enough, like gratitude can help, well, obviously your emotional well being, your spiritual well being, but there's actually a lot of physical aspects that come from gratitude. Gratitude actually can help your gut, your digestion, your cortisol levels, your hormone levels, like so many different things. And so we didn't even talk about photos and gratitude.
Yeah. No, they're definitely connected. I actually have a practice where I write one thing that I'm grateful for, and, I don't always include a photo. I mean, honestly, sometimes at the end of the day, my kids are all grown. I only have one living at home, and I don't know. I don't take as many photos as I used to, and it's okay, but being able to just reflect through the day, even at the end of a really hard day, and train yourself to look for that one thing, I can go to bed feeling better. Gratitude is so key, and yeah, looking back on my old scrapbooks and our old chapbooks, especially as our nest is a little emptier and sometimes it can get a little lonely, uh, we're just so grateful for all of it, the good, the bad, the hard, challenging. It's just yeah, it's very connected, and photos link us to those all those good feelings.
Well, I have really enjoyed talking to you today because who knew that photos could do so much for your health? I mean,
I
but as we're
know.
talking about it, I'm like, oh, duh, it makes sense. It's just not something I've ever thought about. So,
I was just gonna say, in our family, we talk about a wheel of wellness, right? It's so much more than just physical health, and I love everything that I've learned from you about how to take care of our physical health and what the food that we eat and supplements and exercise and sleep, sunlight, all that good stuff. But it's also about our mental and emotional and even spiritual well-being. And I honestly believe that photos and memories are just as important as all of the other stuff. Like, they help ground us, they give us moments to reflect and find clarity, they spark gratitude and connection, they help, you know, spur storytelling, and they honor our journey. Like, the highs, the lows, the challenges, they help us find purpose, feel hope. They're not just keepsakes, okay? They are simple, powerful tools for nurturing our whole selves. And I think as we keep learning more about wellness, photo books will become an even bigger part of that conversation.
which is so interesting, but I believe it because I was just reading an article this week about how those with mental health issues were so dealing on, or we're so talking about the therapies they need and the nutrition they need and the supplements they need and the medication they need. But they're saying a big piece that we forget about is they need connection. They need real connection. And so,
Yeah.
whether that's with friends or families, but photos play a huge role in that connection piece.
There are there's actually something called phototherapy that some programs have incorporated. Like, it's a real thing. So we can do this in our families. Mhm.
Interesting. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, it's so fun just to talk to you to hear how photos play a role, but they really do in your health, which is crazy to me, but now it all makes sense. But tell my listeners where they can find you and chat books and things like that.
Yep. I'm on Instagram at Vanessa Quigley. I also pop in over at Chatbooks on Instagram every now and then. I'm the host of the Mom Force podcast. We do an episode every 2 weeks where we, you know, tap into the collective mom wisdom to help answer some of the toughest mom questions. And just download the app. It's free in the App Store for Android and iOS, and just see how easy and fun at making photo books can be.
I am going to do that for sure. You probably know I end my podcast by always asking my guests what they have found to be the best ingredient in life. And what would you say it is?
Yeah. I think the best ingredient to life is connection. Connection to ourselves, connection to our loved ones, and to the moments that make life meaningful. It's about showing up for the people we care about, savoring the little joys, creating memories that remind us of who we are, where we came from, what we value most, what we're capable of. Connection is everything.
Mm, love that. As I was asking the question, I'm like, I think she's going to answer with photos, and she will be my
No.
only person who has ever answered that question that way.
I know. Okay. It's like the chicken and the egg, right? It's all about the connection. The photo is a tool to get you that connection. But you can also have it through journals, through videos, through voice recordings. It's about the connection.
So true. Well, thank you again so much for being here. And you guys go download that Chatbooks app. I definitely am going to do that. You guys, I am going to have so many good photos in 2025 as I set that as my project for the year. So,
And if anyone needs any help or encouragement or is, whatever, I am a DM away. Just find me on Instagram and I'm your gal.
oh, that's so nice of you. Well, thank you again for being here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe to the Just Ingredients podcast to learn more about your health and good ingredients to life. Plus, get daily tips at just.ingredients on Instagram.